In this video, we use a frequency distribution diagram to approximate the mean and standard deviation. Okay, so we can do this problem two ways. We could do it by hand, or we can use StatCrunch to do some of the heavy lifting. And in many of the problems where you see this little table button, this will copy our data into StatCrunch. So I'm going to click this button, open in StatCrunch. And it's loading. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to use a custom calculator to help come up with a mean and standard deviation. So there's a quick way to do this. First thing I want to do is come up with the class, I guess, midpoint. So you're supposed to add the lower limits and then divide by 2. So 30 plus 40 is 70. Divided by 2 is 35. So I'm just going to type in 35 here. And 40 plus 50 is 90. Divided by 2 is 45. So you can see that it looks like we're increasing by 10. Okay. Next, I'm going to press, and just note that this column here is, it looks like the frequency, right? 5 instances, 11, 15, and 9. So I press Stat, Calculators, Custom, and for values in variable 3, that's going to be the midpoints. And the weights or the frequency would be in this number of P column, or number of patients. I press compute, and that's it. Looks like our mean is 52 and our standard deviation is 9.54. So let's enter this information. So the mean was 52. So I'm going to go back to, and I'll type in 52. And it says round to 2 decimal places I needed, but we did not need to. And I'm going to select check answer, and we get the nice work with the green check mark. The standard deviation, I go back to my table from StatCrunch, and that was 9.54. See how many decimal places we have to go to. 9.54. 1 decimal place. So 9.5 should do it. And I just want to double check to make sure that's correct. Yeah, 9.5. Okay. I press check answer, and we are done. So I'm going to ask a few more questions. Looks like our mean is a little bit higher than the mean, so I'm going to say slightly larger. I check answer. And then they ask us about the standard deviation, and ours, we have 9.5. The actual is 9.9, so slightly lower. Slightly smaller. I press check, and that is it. But I want to go back. If we wanted to do this by hand, if you press the question help button, it really walks you through the calculation by hand. This is the formula that you would use to find the mean, right? So our points times the frequency. So for x1, you would do 35 because that's the midpoint, and x2 would be 45 because that's the midpoint. And it's nice because they really walk you through the calculation. Right, so the variable for the class limits would be the HDL level. That's the class limits. And the frequency is the number of patients. I press check answer. And then for the midpoints, they tell you, add the consecutive lower class limits and divide by 2. So 30 plus 40 is 70. Divided by 2 is 35. And then you would do 40 plus 50 is 90. Divided by 2 is 45. And again, you can see we are increasing by tens. Check answer. Next, it says calculate the sum of the frequencies. So that would be the 5 plus the 11 plus the 15 plus the 9. So that is what, 20, 30, 40? I enter that, I press check answer, and so far so good. And then they give us, okay, if I were to multiply the midpoint by the frequency, I have to do 5 times 35, 45 times 11, and so on. So let me do that quickly. And I quickly do the multiplication, I press check answer, and we get great job. So now we have the midpoint times the frequencies. The sum of that would be all of these numbers added together. So if I add all 4 numbers together, I end up with 2080. I check answer. So far, we're still looking good. And then the calculation was the sum of the midpoint times the frequency divided by the sum of the frequency. So that's the 2080 divided by 40. Right? Remember, the 40 came from here. The 2080 came from here. And I believe when we use StatCrunch, this answer came out to 52. So I'm just going to quickly type this in my calculator to make sure. And we end up with 52. Right? Fantastic. And remember, we knew that by using StatCrunch, mean was 52. So we know what the standard deviation is going to be. But your book or your software will continue to walk you through the calculations to get the variance, and then you can take the square root of the variance to come up with the standard deviation. Okay? So that will hopefully help you with this problem. Thank you for watching.